Welcome back. As much of America seems to be evolving on the issue of marijuana use, federal laws don't reflect it. America's war on drugs started in the 80s, when then Senator Joe Biden co-sponsored the Anti-Drug Abuse Act. It put harsher penalties on drugs used by black people than the drugs used by their white counterparts. And we saw mass incarceration follow as a result of that. Now, just days ago, the Biden administration said it will keep denying public housing applications to Americans over marijuana use, regardless of state laws, even if it's medicinal. The Department of Housing and Urban Development rejected a request from Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. She asked the government to let state laws on marijuana take precedent over the federal statute that bans marijuana use in federally funded homes. Marijuana use is now completely legal in 19 states and commonwealths. That's according to Nayyera Global Solutions. Only 4 states still make marijuana use completely illegal, and the rest have a mixed status on how residents can use the substance. So joining us now to talk about this subject, the latest ACLU numbers show marijuana arrests account for nearly half of all drug arrests in the U.S., and although black and white people use the drug at about the same rate, black people are nearly 4 times more likely to be arrested for possession. This is a direct result of the Anti-Drug Abuse Act that Biden co-sponsored in the 80s. So again, the ball is in Biden's court. A new congressional research report released days ago said the Biden administration can federally legalize marijuana without waiting for Congress. It also said Biden could unilaterally grant mass amnesty to people who violated federal cannabis laws. Joining me now to shed light on the law's impact to people of color is John Hudak. He's a senior fellow of governance studies and the deputy director of Center for Effective Public Management for the Brookings Institution. John, good of you to join us this evening. Very important topic that we're talking about right here. You recently wrote an article calling on President Biden to end what you call America's longest war, which you say isn't Afghanistan. Explain why you believe the war on drugs has been successful in institutionalizing racism.
Well, the war on drugs in the United States has really been a nearly 100-year-long effort, longer than any ground war or air war that we've fought in the United States. And what we know about this war, America's longest war, the drug war, is that it has, since its inception, been designed and enforced to harm people of color in ways that it just does not do the same harm to white communities in the United States. That's been true for 100 years. It was certainly true in the types of drug laws that were passed in the 1980s and 1990s, and it remains true today.
You wrote a book, John, called Marijuana, A Short History, where you laid out the country's tortured relationship with marijuana and race. Has there been any progress to how the law impacts communities of color?
Well, certainly we've seen a change in the conversation around drug policy and race relations in the United States. And in the past 5 years, we've seen some changes to laws, including narrowing the sentencing disparities between crack and powder cocaine. We've seen states take steps in the right direction in ending their versions of the war on cannabis by legalizing cannabis for adult use, or in other cases, only legalizing it for medical use. And that certainly has implications for the way that laws are carried out and enforced. And it dramatically brings down the number of drug arrests that happen each year. And that reduction in drug arrests has a disproportionately positive impact in communities of color, because we know they are disproportionately harmed by the way drug laws are enforced. And so that's all great news, but there's still so much work to be done to deal with what is the reality of the war on drugs, and that is it is a war on communities of color.
And as you stated, it goes back to a 100-year war, so it takes a while to undo all of the damage that has been done. Now, on Friday, President Biden nominated Robert Califf to head the FDA, and he previously served in that role under President Obama. As a doctor, he has prescribed cannabis as treatment. How much weight do you think he would have as head of the FDA on marijuana laws currently in this country?
The head of the FDA has a significant impact in the way that marijuana laws can proceed in the United States. So there's a process by which the American government can change the ways in which certain substances are regulated. There's a scheduling system in the United States. So Schedule 1 in the United States, where cannabis falls, says that that substance is illegal in all circumstances. It has no medical value. It can't be used in any medical procedure or treatment in the United States. There is a process to change that, and the head of the FDA plays a significant role in that determination by analyzing the science and the research around a given substance and helping make the determination about whether it has medical value. And if Mr. Biden's nominee has recommended cannabis to his patients, it suggests that at least he sees some medical value in the treatment of certain conditions.
Meanwhile, John, the bottom line is there are a lot of black men and women, for that matter, who are incarcerated because of marijuana laws, and the laws are changing, as you know. Do you see a way of how legalizing marijuana providing a boost for Democrats and Biden ahead of 2022 elections? Do you think they'll be motivated by just the sheer fact that they're coming up on midterms and they have to do something to really increase and impact the black community to draw out their votes?
Certainly, cannabis reform would be something that would be very important to in the United States. It's a very popular issue. Most recently, Gallup asked again, it asks every year about Americans' views on cannabis legalization. 68% of Americans said they approved of it. So this is a very popular issue. It's certainly a popular issue in black and brown communities in the United States as well. And it would be a political winner for the president or the Congress to take this step. It just seems unlikely that President Biden is willing to take that final step. Now, that said, there is ground in between. The president can do things unilaterally, like pardon individuals who are in jail or who have committed nonviolent cannabis offenses, start to enforce federal laws in different ways, in a more lax way, particularly in states that have reformed their laws. And so the president doesn't need to go fully over to the side of legalization to make meaningful change happen across the country. And right now, the ball is really in his court to do that.
All right, John, I want to thank you for being with us tonight. And again, you've written a book called Marijuana: A Short History. John Hudak, Senior Fellow of Governance Studies at the Deputy Director of Center for Effective Public Management for Brookings Institution. Thanks again.